Hi there. Let's learn a little bit about configuring a virtual machine with Chef. In the last video, we created a virtual machine using Vagrant, using this Vagrant image, which is basically just a hard drive image. That's not going to do what we really need to do on our web server for the project or any other work. We're going to have to configure things a little bit differently. And these configuration management tools are there for that. And the part that we skipped in the last video was this provisioner section in the Vagrant file. There's a couple different provisioners you can use. You can use Fabric or Puppet or Chef. I'm going to use Chef in this video and in the examples. They all do basically the same job, and I think Chef's just maybe a touch easier to work with. So what we've said in this section is that I have a directory, chef/cookbooks, that contains recipes that tell Chef how to set up my virtual machine, and that the base config recipe is one that it should actually run. So if we have a look here in the directory, there is the chef/cookbook directory, base config inside of that, and the recipes default is the actual description of what we want done on our virtual machine. So you can see here in this first section, this apt update execute block basically says, as the root user, run apt-get update. So that'll freshen up all of app's package lists in the VM, which seems to be a little bit necessary. But the other stuff that's here is maybe a little bit easier to see. I've asked that the wget package get installed. And we can actually check to see that that happened. So I already brought the virtual machine up. I just did a Vagrant up exactly like the last video. So if we go into our virtual machine, I can actually run the wget command. I see that it's there, it's ready to run, because I asked that that package get installed. I've also asked that the NTP package get installed. I'm pretty sure it's going to be there. But something I have asked is that I need this configuration file put in place. The ntp.conf file is part of my repository here. I can actually go and have a look and find it. So in the files directory, I'll find this template, and it's got some configuration that I want for this tool. Details aren't really important, but what I've said is I want that file from my repository to end up on the VM in this at set/ntp.conf position. And again, I see a little SFU specific stuff here. That's the configuration I wanted in place. And if I come into my VM and look at the sort of destination I proposed for it, I'll see exactly that same configuration because the file got copied as part of running Chef when I first did the Vagrant up on this machine. And the other thing that's happened here is because I've changed the configuration file for NTP, I need to restart it so it finds its configuration again, finds any changes. So all that was done. It was done in the last video too as part of the Vagrant up, but what we need to do now is actually do something ourselves, some configuration that I need done that's not just part of the template. And the details here aren't too important. What I want to do is just install something. So there's this actgrep command that I use sometimes, and I notice it's not there by default, and maybe I've decided I want it in my VM. More likely this might be I need a web server, or I need the Ruby on Rails package or something else. This will do for now. So if I leave here, and I guess one thing I did see here is that the package is called actgrep. So that's what the Ubuntu package is. And so I need that one. I can do sort of by analogy with the last stuff. To get the wget package installed, I did something like this. So to get the actgrep package installed, I'll do something similar. So if I do that and I save it, Vagrant provision is the thing that will refire all the provisioners. So if I do a Vagrant provision, it'll go off and it'll run Chef again. It will make sure that the wget package is installed and that NTP is installed and that the configuration file is the way it should be. And it will try to make sure that actgrep is installed. This time it'll find out it actually has something to do, And what's happening here as I'm waiting is it's actually installing that package, and with any luck, it's there now. It is. So I managed to say here in my chef cookbook something about how I need things to be set up, and it actually did that. So the benefit here is that I've actually sort of formally said something about my configuration. I really have something that's very well documented and versioned, and I can see, and my group members can see, that this is part of the way this VM needs to be configured to get it set up. So now it becomes part of my history along with code changes. I have configuration changes in my Git repo. So I can check that in, and if I do a git push, then all of my group members will also have the new configuration file when they start up their virtual machine and they do a vagrant provision. They'll have all the right configuration as well, and we're actually going to share a very consistent image, and we all know we can run the code the same way. And now, if I do destroy my virtual machine, throw away the hard drive image, but I do have this confidence that now, if I've done everything right, I can bring back my virtual machine, I can bring it back up again, the provisioner is going to run, it's going to install all the packages, put all the configuration files in place, do everything I need it to do to get my project back to a state where it actually runs properly. So I'm going to pause here. It'll take the same few minutes to work, but let's come back and make sure that after destroying my virtual machine and bringing it back up, everything is in its nice, pristine state. Okay, now that my vagrant up is finished, I can actually see here in the output that it installed the grep package that I added, and I can see up here it did things like copy the configuration file where I need it to be. So I'm going to take on faith that that would have worked. If I log in, I should have those commands there. I do want to point out that this provisioner should be something I can run over and over again. So if my group member makes one tiny change, I should be able to do a vagrant provision and just get that tiny change to happen. It should be pretty safe. Everything I do in this chef file should be something that if I rerun it 7 times, it's not going to have any negative effects, which is kind of nice. It means that if I'm kind of not sure if maybe somebody changed something, I might not have my VM in the right state, I can just do a vagrant provision and make sure that everything is in fact the way it should be. Hopefully that helps a little, and you now have some idea of how all these pieces fit together. We have Vagrant that is kind of running the show, creating virtual machines for us. VirtualBox, that's actually the virtual machine runner. Chef is doing the configuration and letting us say, here's how to set everything up so it's in the state we need it. And after all that, we have a virtual machine that is ready to go and can run our project, and some confidence that if somebody else does a git clone and a vagrant up, that they can also run the project. Good luck.